It's time now for the Premier Podcast, the official real estate video podcast of Premier Realty Group of West Tennessee. We have 3 offices to serve you in McKenzie, Paris, and Huntingdon. Online at prealtygroup.com. Now, let's get started with today's Premier Podcast.
Welcome back to the Premier Realty Group video podcast. I'm Kelly Green, the marketing director for Premier Realty Group. My co-host today is Susan Bradbury, the owner of Premier Realty Group. Susan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Kelly. How about you?
Doing well. We've got number 2 in a series. We've started a series on different type of home loans. We talked about USDA loans a few weeks back. Today we're going to talk about FHA loans.
Correct.
And just the person to talk about that is Brandy DeLoach. She is with Premier Mortgage Financial LLC in Jackson, Tennessee. Brandy, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Susan, I know you've got a lot of questions you want to ask Brandy, so we can jump right into it.
What are FHA loans? How do people qualify for an FHA loan? And then why would an FHA loan be better for them than maybe some other loan? So if you can kind of help us there, that'd be
Yes,
great.
I love FHA loans. It's Federal Housing Administration. Around the 1930s, the government developed this program to give a wider variety of people to be able to buy houses with less money down. On an FHA loan, they require generally 3.5% down, which is great for, people that have bought houses before and don't have the 5% for conventional, or that, don't qualify for the USDA loans or because of income, say they make too much money. FHA allows people with perfect credit to buy homes with little money down, but also if you've had things that have happened in the past, or life happens to everybody, and not everybody's going to have an 800 score. Like with our FHA, with 3.5% down, we can go down to a 580 credit score, which really opens up, the people, the single moms, or the people that have had job things that have happened to them, or it really opens up the spectrum for people to be able to be homeowners that wouldn't normally be able to.
So through no fault of theirs.
Yeah.
Right.
They've
And
had,
stuff happens. Life
That's
happens.
right.
Kids
Yeah.
and jobs, and it happens.
So
Right.
your credit score determines your down payment, your amount of down payment.
Correct. As long as you have a 580 credit score and you qualify, then, previous bankruptcies or foreclosures, and as long as it's within the guidelines, that's okay. Life happens. It gives you a way to start over with only 3.5% down versus the banks wanting 10 or 20% down. So, and they're on a 30-year fixed, and there's no prepayment penalty. So, you can prepay as much as you want, and we even have, FHA for, like I said, life happens, and sometimes the credit or credit scores, it's not because it's bad, it's because maybe you've maxed out a credit card, or you've done something to trigger it. With 10% down, we can go down to a 550. Which really gives someone a second chance.
Yeah, opens it up.
Right, because it's easy to tell people that they need to go out and get reestablished credit, but it's really hard for people to to be able to do that.
So if they could do 10% down, why would they then stay with FHA as opposed to going conventional?
Okay, 550 credit score.
The credit score
On
makes the
conventional,
difference.
they're going to want at least a 620 credit score.
Right. Okay.
Like I said, not every situation not everybody has a 620 or 640 or 680, depending on what program they want to go. So FHA opens it up to people, that don't have as much, the high credit scores, but they don't have a lot of money down either.
Can an FHA loan be a 15-year loan?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 15, 20, 30. But like I said, there's no prepayment penalty. And the rates are so good that a lot of times people will do the 30 and then prepay on the principal and pay it down to a 20-year loan or 15, depending on their circumstances.
So you said sometimes you only need 3.5% down, it would be perfect for like a first-time home buyer.
Right. And right now, and I know we're talking about FHA, but FHA also allows Tennessee Housing. They have a 5% that'll cover the 3.5% down, depending on, like I said, the credit score. And then even some areas have a $15,000 grant right now on certain zip codes that can go in addition to with the FHA. So on the FHA, it doesn't necessarily have to be your 3.5% down that you have saved up or in 401k. It can be a gift from a family member, a bonus from your employer, your church giving you the money. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your own funds, depending on the program.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I just think this is great because I think there are people who sit on the sideline thinking, well, I just don't think I could qualify. I don't think
Right.
there's
They're
any way I could
scared
buy
or
a
don't
home.
know.
But when they hear this and they know that they don't have to have that 620 credit score and they don't have to have
Right.
20% down, that they've got some options.
Well, it's hard when you go to the bank or wherever and you hear no and no and no and no. I mean, it does get frustrating and it does get, it makes it a little harder to take that next step. But if people know there are programs out there that, income tax time is coming, or if they just had an idea of what they needed to qualify for the FHA, then they could work towards that goal. And like I said, it just opens up a lot more people to homeownership.
Right.
What about employment, length of employment? Does that factor into the loan at all?
Yes, FHA they want to see a 2-year work history.
Okay.
And what we've seen more and more, because, the job layoffs, the factories closing, things like that, as long as they have been back to work 6 months, like let's just say they were laid off for a year, or, whatever happened, they have to be back at their current job for 6 months, and then we have to prove a full 2-year history prior to that. So just because you were laid off or something happened to your job doesn't mean you're not going to qualify because you haven't worked fully for the last 2 years. So as long as you've been back to your work for 6 months, it's called return to workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as long as we can go back prior to your absence,
Let's say you had a
Think about
good
your-
job. You had a good job that you were on for 5 years, and then you had an opportunity to take a great job somewhere else, and that was just 3 months ago, and you tried to get the loan, 3 months after taking that great job. Does that affect it, or is that...
No, you can switch jobs
Okay,
as long
okay.
as it's in the same line of work
Gotcha.
and you're getting paid the same. Like you can't go from hourly or salary to commission.
Okay.
Because like commission, you'll have to do it 2 years. Anything like overtime, anything like that, you do have to have a 2-year history to be able to count it.
Gotcha.
But you can switch jobs. We just have to verify and be sure to let us know
Right.
before you do it. So
We always talk about this when we talk about home loans, but there are certain things you should and shouldn't do when you're, I guess, approved for that loan and waiting to close on the home, and that is don't make any big purchases,
And don't change
don't
jobs.
change jobs.
don't change jobs.
And I
Yes.
guess that factors into an FHA loan as well.
It does. Just common sense. I
Yeah.
mean, don't go buy the living room furniture before you buy your house.
Right.
Don't go buy a new car or you might be living in it. Don't put large cash deposits into your account because we can't count it. If we
Yeah.
can't prove it, we can't count it.
Right.
Because FHA goes back 60 days. So if you have money and you're putting it in your account, we don't want to see cash deposits because we will have to, take it away or not count it.
Gotcha.
So yes, there are a few things, just common sense things.
Anything else other than the 550 credit score, the 6-month work history, any other things that are there to qualify?
Yeah, you do have to have a 2-year job history. It just doesn't have to be 2 years continuous at that place. And like I said, the money down, we have to be able to prove it. It can't be in your gun safe at home or, under the mattress or mattress money like they call it. It can't be just somewhere. We actually have to prove where the money's coming from because the government doesn't want you to just show up with money, and we've got to be able to document it and prove it.
Right. So is the 550 credit score the big thing that would drive someone toward an FHA loan as opposed to a rural development loan, or is that the...
The scoring difference, yes. Rural development, it depends on the area. In your history, rural development's a little more strict. FHA, they're strict on the house. They're not, they give you, but it's a make sense loan too. They give you options to explain, or if your situation's different. There are rules and guidelines, but
a little more flexible,
A little
maybe.
more flexible. If it makes sense and the underwriter, the FHA underwriter understands and goes in the direction you are, sometimes things that would hold you up on a rural development loan or something, something like that would be okay on FHA.
Right.
Could debt ratio hold you up? You can have a good credit score but still have a lot of debt. Does that factor in?
A lot of customers like 700 scores, perfect job, perfect everything, but say the wife is just started commission job, and so we can't count her, or vice versa him. We use FHA a lot because there's a system we run it through. And as long as the system approves it, I've had it approved up to 63% on the debt to income ratio, where most banks and government loans and all that is 45%. So, and conventional is 45%. So, or if we have a customer that makes, a salary plus commission, but he hasn't been on commission for 2 years and we can only count salary, that's where FHA really comes in. I mean, it's not for people with just bad credit or, struggles or whatever. It's for people, with good credit, just unusual situations too.
Right.
So
the thing would be, if someone's thinking about buying a home, is try to start putting some money aside to get that 3.5%, because it moves them into a whole new loan option.
Correct.
That could really, really work for them.
Correct.
So
unless they're like I said, a first-time home buyer, and then we can look at some of the down payment assistance that FHA allows.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of them FHA allows, not just Tennessee Housing. I mean, there's other grants and stuff depending on the county that you're in and your income bracket and stuff like that. So FHA really kind of opens it up, and I mean, the money can be yours or a gift or a grant or and that's when you apply, that's kind of where we start and
right
how we get you in that direction.
Yeah.
right.
We're talking with Brandy DeLoach with Premier Mortgage Financial LLC of Jackson, Tennessee. What's the
Yes.
best way to reach you? Call you, email you, or just walk through the door at your business?
All the above.
Yeah.
I mean, you can call my cell phone number, my office number, email. We have a lot of walk-in people. It's better to call and go ahead and get it started, so when you do come in, you can bring in the documents. It takes like 2 minutes. There's no application or credit fee. We get just your basic information, get your credit pulled up, and let's just say, for instance, that you're not quite ready. We have credit simulators. We have all kinds of things to put you in the right direction. In other words, we're not going to, you call and say, hey, look, I know I'm not there. What can I do? So, and we do help. I mean, I won't fix the credit for you. I won't, but I will give you the tools and the knowledge to do that.
And I think that is huge.
I have a lot of
Yeah.
customers that they may not be able to buy for 6 months or a year, but they come back because somebody, we gave them the tools that they needed to succeed. And once they're there, I mean, they're so excited, first-time home buyers, and, like that have been told no over and over and over. It's really exciting to have, to be able to say yes and, let's do this.
And
So-
what's 6 months in the big scheme of things? It's,
Right. Well, they've
it's-
already waited 6 months, anyway,
Right,
or
right. So
whatever.
what's another 6 months?
Right. Or
Well,
and sometimes it's only 3 months, and sometimes I'm like, hey, look, the simulator says you do this in the next 30 days, your score's up 63 points. We're ready.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, let's get your income, let's get the stuff, stuff together, to be able to get you qualified.
Well, and while there's still going to be a lot of questions that they'll have about FHA loans, I think you've given them enough that
An
it should get
idea.
some people excited
I know.
about thinking about the possibility of being able to qualify
buying
for a
now
home.
instead
Yeah,
of waiting.
I think that's exactly right, and we appreciate that.
Well, now I know. I mean, the rates are amazing right now, and it's the time.
What's the direct line to your office? What's the best way to reach Brandy DeLoach at Premier Financial?
731-668-8891 is the office, and my cell number is 731-694-1250.
Brandy DeLoach with Premier Mortgage Financial LLC of Jackson. Susan, thanks for being on. Brandy,
Thank you,
thanks for being
Susan.
on.
Thank
I
you.
think our phones are going to start ringing.
I hope so for you guys, too. So, yay.
Thanks, Brandy.
Thank you.